Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the What's New in Autodesk Inventor 2017 webinar. My name is Eric Miller. I'm the Technical Resources Manager here at Applied Engineering. And today we're going to be going over some of the new features in Inventor 2017. Hopefully we get some time at the end for some questions. So please, you are in listen-only mode. So if you want to ask a question, feel free to just put those in throughout the webcast here within the GoToMeeting questions section. That should be kind of on the right side of your screen. You can ask questions there, and then I'll try to get to those at the end. So this session is also being recorded, so we're going to have this available on our YouTube site. We can also send you a link if you want to pass that on to anyone else in your company that maybe didn't get a chance to see it. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I guess first of all, just a little introduction to Applied Engineering. If you're not familiar with our company, we're an IT and engineering services company. We've got around, I think, 70 some engineers right now, probably 15 to 20 application developers, system admin type people as well. And then we're also an Autodesk reseller. So we provide Autodesk products, and that's kind of my role as the Tech Resources Manager to provide, sales, pre-sales, demos, stuff like that for our sales team, and then also do training. We offer a wide variety of classes with Inventor, AutoCAD Electrical, and a bunch of other tools as well. Not all just Autodesk products. And then also we provide support. So for our customers that are using these products, they can call in and ask us for help with any issues that might arise. So that's kind of the scoop, I guess, behind Applied Engineering. And with that, we'll go ahead and start looking at some of the material here. So first of all, just a little kind of intro to what we'll be looking at today. So just get a little blurb, I guess, on what Inventor 2017, kind of their motto, I guess, behind the software and what it's all about. We'll get into some of the design enhancements. That's kind of the bulk, I guess, of the presentation today. Interoperability improvements, and then also some communication capabilities that are now integrated within Inventor. So those are kind of the key areas. So just a little bit about Inventor. Inventor 2017 is built to serve the expanding role of the modern professional engineer. Core mechanical design tools are better than ever, with new features that help you design faster and optimize performance from the outset. Integrated communication tools help you connect with anyone on the project team, regardless of their role, company, or location. New interoperability tools pull data together from virtually any discipline or software so that you can build a single complete definition of your product. And obviously, if you're just using Inventor, you might not take advantage of all the other things that are out there, but we'll look at Autodesk 360 a little bit. I'll actually, I've got Vault installed in this machine, so as far as data management goes, Vault is a great way to do that. And obviously, if you've got Vault Pro, you can share that information or let others access that just through a web browser, kind of like Autodesk 360, except they're actually looking into your Vault. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the design enhancements. I guess just to mention, too, we're going to try to keep this presentation today to about 30 minutes. You go any longer than that and people start, well, obviously we're getting close to lunchtime here too, but any longer than that, and sometimes it gets to be a little bit too much information, and obviously we don't want to bore you, so we're just going to kind of give you some of the tidbits here. I'm not going to cover every single enhancement that they put into Inventor 2017, but I'll try to cover some of the big hitters. Okay. All right, so one of the first things here to touch on is the 3D Sketcher, and really you may use the 2D Sketcher, obviously probably a little more than the 3D. I guess depends on the type of products you're using. The 3D Sketch is real nice for, say, routing, pipeline, or routing hoses through maybe in a hydraulic environment, or whether it be formed hoses or flexible hoses. It's difficult to work obviously in a 2D environment these days. With those types of products, if you're building machines, if you're building, anything that's got, pretty much everything today is obviously got some type of three-dimensional need. So, that is kind of a nice option, and they've also added some constraint types. So, I'm first going to just jump in there, and I'll kind of bounce back and forth a little bit here between the presentation and the live Inventor. So let's just jump into Inventor and we'll take a look at that. So as far as the interface goes, your initial interface when you log into Inventor, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of differences there. Obviously, you've got your templates, recent documents down below, and your project shortcuts up in the upper right. These can be adjusted. Obviously, you can customize your screen, put other tools up in your, in the tabs up on top and customize, make your icons larger, smaller. So there's all kinds of ways to make this kind of fit, the way you want it to work. But let's just start a new file here, and we'll just grab a standard inch part. And I'm going to go here and start a 3D sketch, and we're just going to talk a little bit about that. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but if I start the sketch, we want to get into, let's see, so I'm working in a 3D, so let's just start a line here and just kind of show that. Obviously now it kind of starts me out in the 2D environment, so I'm just going to go back to the home setting here, and if we start at the center, say I'm routing, and this is just obviously a straight line, but I can route here along a specific edge, and then pick a different section and route along that. Notice my green line is kind of where I was, and building on that, and this little interface sort of tags along as you go throughout your sketch here. So we'll just kind of do a couple of these. Now the new interface that they kind of built in is, now if I start rotating this around, you can see some of that actually didn't get, I've got to select a new plane there to sketch along the other direction. So there you can see it is a three-dimensional type sketch. Now if I want to adjust that, the new tool that they kind of put in here is a 3D transform tool. So if I select that here, maybe pick a couple of these, holding control, and now I've got this new interface where I can drag, and that'll kind of drag it with respect to my other pieces of the sketch. So you can kind of see it all stays connected. If we want to rotate that a little bit, move it out this way or this direction, it just got some, obviously the mini toolbar pops up with some different options there as well for orientation, location, and as soon as you're done making that movement, you can hit OK. So that's really kind of the main thing. Obviously, there are some other constraints that they've added in here. If I want to assign something to the XYZ plane, or YZ or XZ plane, or I guess it's XY, YZ, and XZ, we can select that option and then pick one of these lines to got to make sure it's not perpendicular to it. You can see this one is already on that. Maybe this one will work. Let's see here, XY. Drop that one on there. You can see it adjusted a little bit to make it parallel to that. So that's kind of the as far as the 3D sketching. And again, it may not pop up too often within the type of products you're doing, but that's just kind of a little brief demonstration on that anyway. So let's go back to the slides here. The next enhancement here to look at is the with regards to surfacing. So within the surface tool, they've now added a guide rails to the surface patch. So that lets you kind of modify and tweak and kind of manipulate a surface a little bit easier now with the guide rails. So and then on the right side, you can see the ruled surface options. There's now a new angle option for all surface types, and the sweep option has been renamed to vector and now supports both edge and skeleton selections to set the direction. So a few different new things there on the surfacing side. I'll just show you the one on the left here because it's maybe a little bit quicker to kind of show. So let's go ahead and just create a new part here, and we'll go start a. Actually, we want to do. Let's do a 2D sketch. Go back to 2D. Let's put it on that surface. I'm just doing like a little ellipse here, and we'll start ellipse. Kind of create the shape. I just want to do. Let's just do auto dimension on that. Apply those, and hit done. And now I'm just going to make this into, say, like maybe 5, 3 as far as my X and Y radius is there. We'll hit OK on that. Let's just extrude that up, and let's see, we'll drag that up, and then I'm going to taper that in just a little bit. Let's go 15-degree taper, and then back to my depth here. Let's go up 3 degrees, something like that. Okay. So what we want to do is kind of round off the top of this. So the first thing, if I know I'm going to use a guide rail within my surface, let's start a sketch here and just put that in initially so I can utilize it. On the YZ plane, we'll project some edges here to be able to snap to. Should be able to grab those points now. And I'm just going to use a spline here. This is going to be, we'll put a couple control points in there to be able to flex that. And then we'll just hit OK to complete it. And we'll finish that sketch. And now we're just going to go over to our surface, our boundary patch. We're going to pick the outside edge there, and notice, okay, so it creates a surface where it's, connecting to the top of that ellipse, but we want to use this top piece as well there to kind of round out the top. So we're going to use guide rails, select that option, we're going to pick that, and now you can see the surface flows through that guide rail. And if I hit apply on that, there's my surface. Obviously, surfacing gets into a few more things to keep in mind. Obviously, if you're kind of building more aesthetic type parts, if it's plastic, if it's molded, surfaces provide a lot more options to get a nice looking part than trying to work with extrusions and revolves and stuff like that. So surfaces can be very handy, and obviously building in curvature continuous type of parts and features within your part, surfaces can help with that. But just with that, I can go back here and modify my sketch. So notice kind of where my surface is created here. If I go in and just do the edit sketch here, I can just kind of drag this to kind of change the shape. Maybe we want to have something like that. And then hit OK. And notice the shape, just my surface adjusts to that guide rail and flows through. It still stays, it doesn't come to a point on the top, so it flows through, basically puts a spline going in the other direction too. But so that's basically the adding that guide rail option, what it can do for you. Okay. Let's see. Next thing we want to take a look at here is the shape generator. Now, the shape generator actually came out in 2016, the second release, R2. So you maybe, if you're using 2016 today, if you've already upgraded and installed the service packs, you probably already have access to this. So maybe you've already seen it. It's a really cool thing that Autodesk kind of built in to just Inventor Professional. Kind of ties in a little bit with the simulation side within Inventor, so allows you to, and especially where this really can be handy is if you're using any type of 3D printing or some type of mold, I guess, whether it be plastic or composite type parts, where you can reduce. If you're really looking for weight reduction, this is really a nice tool for that. So this does take a little bit to process, so I'm going to start one, and then we'll take a look at a few other slides here before we come back to it. So it'll probably take about a shape like this. Let's delete the top boundary patch, and we'll just start with delete that. We'll start with a shape like this, and we want to do, let's say this is kind of a stand or a base for some other thing that's going to sit on top of it. But obviously, if we're going to be, we know we've got the flexibility to be able to create this part using a 3D printer or some other means that allows it the shape to be a little more complex. So first thing we'll do here is just click on the shape generator up on top, and we'll hit OK on that. It takes us into the shape generator environment, and there's a lot of things we can do in here that's similar, like I said, to the simulation tools we've got. But I'm just going to do a real simple one. So we're going to fix the bottom of this. So we'll just pick this bottom surface, fix that, hit apply, and I'm just going to put a light, just a force on the top of this. Okay, so based on the force, it's got to generate a shape inside that can still withstand that and still maintain the part's integrity without any issues. And so we're going to just put let's go, I don't know, 50-pound force maybe on the top of this thing. We'll place it right in the center, and I think that does automatically put it in the center of that. Okay, let's go apply, and now we're ready to generate the shape. So I'm going to click on that. We're going to go run, and again, this is going to go through. It's a complex algorithm. It's going to try to go through and figure out. Okay, I didn't, and notice up on top, I didn't do it, but there are ways to, preserve region. So I already kind of started it. So basically, I'm not worried about preserving any region, but since I selected this top surface to apply the force and the bottom surface is fixed, it's going to automatically keep those two preserved. But the whole sides can be taken in as much as possible. So the whole side of this, I guess it's kind of an elliptical, tapered, sort of trapezoid looking part, but it can do whatever it needs to do inside to be able to create that shape. So while that's going, like I said, it's going to be a few minutes there before that completes. Let's bounce back and talk just about a few other enhancements while that's happening. Okay, so we'll wait for the shape generator to start. A couple things on the sheet metal side, nothing that's really going to maybe blow you away, but they did add a couple more corner reliefs. Let's see, we've got, I'm trying to remember which exact corner relief options. The round tangent, round vertex, and square vertex were added to the corner relief options, as you see in the pull down menu there. They've also added some enhancements on the flat patterns, as far as now you can defer the update of that. If so if you're maybe adding some holes, adding some cuts, putting some bends across, stuff like that, you can defer the update in the flat pattern, and it's just kind of a efficiency, time saver type of thing there. Obviously, eventually you probably want to update the flat pattern, but you can hold off on that until you're all done with the parts or the features you're putting on your form view. And then some of the punch representation visibility has been updated. You can show the form punch feature, show the sketch representation, and show a center mark. Those are the options for where a punch might be. If you're starting to get into the new 4K monitors, I know a lot of our customers have been asking for that for a little while, and they're starting. I mean, they're really nice. The quality and the images are pretty fantastic when you're working with 4K monitors. So now they finally have got support in 2017. That might have started towards the end of 2016 too, on the previous releases, or the later releases. But now that has 4K support, so the graphics are hard to beat on that. So that's kind of another enhancement there. We're going to get into some of these here in a little bit. I'll show some examples of this, but the feature relationships, I feel like this is something they've needed for a real long time, and I'm glad they finally got it in there. And if you're trying to track down, okay, what are the parents or what are the children of a specific feature? If I delete this one, what's it going to affect? I mean, I know you can kind of go through the, kind of test it out by hitting delete, and it'll give you an option to hit OK first before it actually just deletes it and deletes all the children associated with it. But I'm a big fan of being able to investigate a part. Let's say you open up somebody else's part that was built 2 years ago. Before you start making changes to it, you have to understand how it was built and how it was modeled. So the parent-child option in there now is real nice. If you select the feature, right-click on it and select relationships, and it'll allow you to see, okay, what are the parents, what are the children. Over on the right side, just kind of talks about the some patterning options that you can now use the orientation option. So if you want your pattern to orient, if you're going in a circular pattern, if you want the orientation to always kind of point towards the same direction and kind of revolve around, or if you want to keep it, I guess pointing in the same direction would be kind of the one on the left there. If you want to rotate around and always have it point towards the center, that would be kind of the option on the right. So that gives you that option. And then on the bottom there, the multi-body patterning is now available and mirroring as well. So that definitely some nice enhancements there. Let's go back and see how our part is doing. There we go. So it finished up. So now if I rotate this around, you can see that, and actually I think I upped the force on this a little bit. I tried one a little bit earlier and didn't put quite as much weight on it. And it created little pillars inside. So you could actually see that, it didn't need a full solid all the way through the center. Now that I bumped it up to 50%, or sorry, 50 pounds, I think, now it kind of fully connected everything in the center there. So if I took this down to a lower weight or lower force on the top, you'd see that it could create, pillars and actually remove more material on the inside. But you can see the original mass is 31.9. The new mass is 13.2, which is a mass reduction of 59%. So really can give you some advantages there. Obviously, depending on the type of products you make or the type of operations you use, that can be pretty slick. Okay. All right, we'll complete that out, and let's bounce back here then to, well, I guess while we're in here, let me see. Let's open up another part. We're going to get into some assembly stuff. So I'll go open. And let's open up the spider lifter. And we've got, I just want to kind of check out, let's open up this base part here. And, as far as that last option for, if I grab this chamfer in the center, I don't know if maybe a chamfer is not a great idea. How about maybe this extrusion right here? If I right click on that, go to relationships, here's my, shows all the children down below. So we've got quite a few children with this. Obviously it's an extrusion towards the top of my model browser. So I know if I delete that, it's going to have a lot of children being affected by it. Notice over here, if you select it, it highlights it over on the right. So we've got a plane and a sketch that were used to create that extrusion. But then we can, select these options and then put that. So now I put the whole. Once you pick the little arrow, it puts that into the selecting, and now it shows the parents of that and the children of that. So a real nice way to investigate a model and get some more information out of it. All right. Moving back here, so part creation, we looked at that. Let's take a look at the next one here is assembly items. So we want to see, so before, I believe you had to toggle the transparency. So it'd be like almost a custom material appearance or custom appearance for you. Now you just have the option to, instead of just enabling, disabling, or changing the visibility on and off, you can actually have a transparency option to toggle on and off in the right click menu. And we also have the ability over on the right to have better I guess abilities to go see what certain parts are referencing. So if you got some external references, we can go right to those files and see, okay, what did we reference on that part. So let's take a look at that here. All right, so if I'm in, let's see, we want to just check the transparency. If I want to see the inside of what's, say this is a sleeve for this lifter, I want to just right click on that then and go transparent. Let's see, okay, I'm using Vault, so it's saying if I'm going to modify this, I've got to check it out. So we'll go ahead and hit yes to continue with edit, and I can see it modify that. Now if you aren't using Vault right now, you probably, it's got a great integration into Inventor. I can actually switch over here to the Vault browser, and looks like I need to refresh this one. So let's just go ahead and refresh it. So I must have saved this locally. That's what these red circles mean, is that the one that I've got out in Vault is now older. I've saved a new version, so I'm just going to go refresh this file. It'll take, so it's just basically going to re-download and overwrite if I want to get the latest from Vault. So we'll give that a second to do. We'll say yes. Okay. Now let's go back over here. Okay. Now the white circles mean that my local version now matches what's in Vault. So when you're working in Vault, you're working on the files on your local machine, a copy of the files in Vault, but it's kind of synchronized back and forth. So again, we can take this one, right click and do transparent. It says, do you want to check it out? We'll say yes. Now notice up on top, it checked out the file, and probably, I don't know, maybe there's a piece part underneath here. Oh, no, it basically transformed the, it's a local appearance within the assembly, so it had to check out the assembly to be able to do that. All right, so that's the turn on and off transparent. The other one I wanted to show you was the options for being able to see references. So let's say I want to put a sketch on this part. I want to see where the outline is as far as referencing, this inside piece that it's kind of overlapping where that hinge is at. So I'm going to just double click on that part to activate it. Let's do a sketch. We'll just drop it on there. Now it says, do we want to check out this? We'll say, yep, we want to check it out. We're going to make a change. And now I'm just going to project some geometry here from maybe that edge. And that's really all I wanted to see. I want to have a sketch on the outside of that so I know, how much is overlapping. So we hit OK to finish the sketch. Let's go back and activate my main part. Let's go back to the model browser. Now notice we've got an external reference here, so that's the indicator for that. And if I expand the sketch, if I want to see, okay, this is my crank part, this one here, and in a larger assembly, it can be kind of confusing sometimes on, okay, what exactly did I reference before? But if I expand my sketch, I can see that it references the spider arm 3, and I can go right here and just go open the reference to be able to, investigate that part and obviously look at, the pieces here that I had been referencing. All right. So let's go back to this. Obviously, to remove those references, and that's something too. I don't really encourage, creating external references is nice during the creation of a design, but towards the end, once you get to release that and allow everybody else to work on it, I really encourage you to try to remove these external references if possible. Maybe just create a sketch on that instead. That way the part can be kind of, sort of independent on its own. You don't have to worry about opening up, or if you change the other part, how is it going to affect, the parts that might be referencing that. So obviously that's another example where the parents and children can be, pretty useful there. All right. Let's go back here to the slideshow. Let's take a look at some of the interoperability improvements. One of the first things, well, and this actually happened in 2016. They started kind of a new, I guess, I don't know if it's not really an interface, but new feature enhancement called AnyCAD, where Inventor is really one of the first tools that seems to be a little more willing to work with some of these other file types. Up until 2016, you always had to convert a file, from SolidWorks, from whatever, over to Inventor, and the other softwares, those other competitors obviously do the same thing. You don't necessarily want to give away your code, or obviously, let someone, work in two environments. Everybody's trying to get that business, right? So they try to make it harder to work in your environment, so you have to switch over. But Inventor, I'm glad, because especially for our company like ours, we use all kinds of different tools. I realize we're an Autodesk reseller, but our customers, whatever they use, if we need to help them with the design, that's the tools that we need to use as well. So let's take a look at that one. And this is kind of for both two different types of files. First, the STEP file or STP file is a pretty common generic file that gets transferred around to a lot of different companies. You can usually export to an STP, and then it can be pulled into a lot of other CAD systems. So it's a very useful, kind of like an IGES file, stuff like that. We transfer those types of files, and then obviously you protect a little bit of your design information as well. If you want to send a customer or get one from, or send it to a supplier, you convert it to one of these generic file types, and then you don't have to pass along the feature data, which is really what you're trying to protect. Obviously, you always run the risk of them reverse engineering your files, but that's kind of the one of the common tools there is the STEP or step file. STLs are also in object file formats, are nice when typically that's a typical file for pulling in, say, like point cloud. If you do a 3D scan and you get your point cloud and convert that into an STL file, we can now bring that into Inventor and actually, just like step files now, and create your constraints and mates and keep the file referenced. It doesn't have to convert over to an Inventor file. We can reference those STL or STEP files. So let's just take a look at that quick. I know we're running close to 11:30 here, but let's say we have another crank part here that we want to try out. So I'm just going to show that. We'll go to place. I'm going to grab the STP file. This is one that maybe was a similar, maybe a supplier sent us a different type of crank to use to maybe get us a better range of motion. So we just hit OK on that. And this is kind of that AnyCAD environment. You can either reference it. You have the option to convert it if you'd like to. But we can just reference that STP file now, just like you could, like I mentioned, SolidWorks files, Creo files, and some other file types as well. But hit OK on that. It's going to drop it in. We'll drop it in there, and then hit OK. And now, obviously, we can start putting in the constraints just like we would normally. We go constrain here. Let's put in the, grab the that reference and maybe the reference there, and drops it in. And now we could obviously, continue on with that. We want to put in a reference there, maybe. Let's see. Well, this actually won't even let me do it. I suppose I'm going to over-constrain it until yeah. So I didn't like that because this is a little bit longer, and this one's already locked in over here, so it's not going to let that move in order to join up with that. But if I took away some of these other constraints, especially on the original crank part, this one would be able to go in and we could see if the range of motion, did what we wanted it to. So that's why we'll just hit accept on that. But that's the idea. Notice over my model tree, it's got a different kind of model there, and it's bringing in, so this part that we brought in shows, I guess, a different symbol, different icon. And if we look at the Vault browser, it shows that this is a brand new step file. So if I check in my model into Vault, it's going to maintain the reference to that STP file. So we can just check that in to Vault as well. Okay. All right, a couple things left here, and we'll wrap this up, but let's see here. Go back to my presentation. Communication capabilities. I've added a couple options in here. The first one is to use A360 right from Inventor. So let's say you want to jump on a little designer view with somebody in a different office, or even in the same office. It's just nice to be able to do that with an online format. Instead of having them, hey, come over and take a look at my screen. Maybe they're across a large building, and you just want to do a little review with them on this particular part. So I can hit my little, so in the bottom right corner, if you saw me, I don't know if you saw me select that and close that. So in the bottom right corner here is my A360 option to do design reviews. So there's basically create events, design shares. That's what we want to do here is a design share. So let's go up and say design share this view from Inventor. We can put in, once this pops up here, there's another design title. We'll say, check out this new design. And then we could enter in their email address and eventually hit start design share, and they're going to get notified and be able to pop that open. If we look at the preview, basically what both of you are going to see at the same time is this screen right here. So if we want to you can kind of rotate it around. I think you can pass controls over to either side. They're going to have the same tools down here below to be able to manipulate that. We can change kind of the as far as the model browser, take a look at that, explode the model. Take a look at the ways to explode an assembly like that and be able to see all the components. So a real nice way for collaborating between people within your company or even people outside of your company, to be honest. So if you give them access to that A360 account, and they'd be able to utilize this as well. So it does require obviously a login to that. So if you share that with them, and once you're done, you can archive it or save it or delete that view if you don't want anybody else to be able to see that. All right, so that's the collaboration there. Another new thing here, and maybe they're getting a little more popular. We still don't see a whole lot of usage of this, but now we can also export out to a 3D PDF. So obviously PDFs are kind of the way of the world still, right? Everybody has Adobe to be able to view a PDF. That's how a lot of customers still create drawings and distribute them, which I'm a big, I like DWFs. There's just so much more you can do with it, but the 3D PDF actually kind of is pretty close to that. So you'll see with the 3D DWF here, if I hit publish, let's see, yeah, we'll say yes, overwrite that. So you get some options as far as being able to rotate it, obviously. Your properties kind of come with it. So it's a lot like a DWF. You can mark it up, obviously send it back, but it's kind of slick, and all you need is Adobe Reader to be able to use that. So I didn't think this took too long here, but maybe we'll give that a second to run anyway too. And I know we're a little past 11:30, so if you need to drop off and hit lunch, that's fine. I've just got a couple more things I want to touch on. The presentation enhancements are real nice. If you look at the kind of bottom of this screen, now they've added this kind of timeline, so you can create views, you can explode, use your tweaks still, create snapshots down in the bottom, and then move those around if you don't like the kind of the flow of it. Now there's my 3D PDF here. Let's see, I think I've got it's still generating. Probably got to trust this one time, okay. And there's my 3D model in a PDF. So I'm just using Adobe Reader, and I'm able to rotate this around. There's some cool stuff you can do here with, let's see, cross sections, property, as far as lighting, so it kind of converts that into two red lights. So I don't know, kind of some neat stuff. And as far as let's see, toggle model tree, we want to see the parts that are included in that. Those come with it as well. So definitely some enhancements there to be able to share with other people and maybe they only have Adobe Reader. All right, so the presentation, I'll touch on that here in a second. We talked about 3D PDF. I kind of skipped one there, I guess. Let's bounce back here. I want to show the presentation quick because that is kind of a real nice tool. So we're bringing in that spider lift. We'll use that same assembly. Drop that in there. And then notice on the bottom, this is my timeline. So if I create a tweak, let's move this part out. The tweak pretty much works like it did before. I'll move this guy out. Let's create another tweak here. Move that out. And just hit OK. Oh, I guess I got to hit apply over there, then move on to the next one. Let's select this one. Move that down, and notice on the bottom there. So if I hit apply, they're starting to add, my parts to the timeline, and then also the movements here. So then we can also change, viewing angle. So if I, create, let's see, capture camera angle, that adds another camera option. And if I rotate this around, maybe over here, if you want to zoom in on a particular thing, capture that camera angle. Let's see, maybe back here, if I go back to the front, let's capture this camera angle there. And then you can kind of see, if we go back to the beginning, so this is really almost taking the place. Let's jump all the way back and then just start playing it. It's really going, I think the idea of Inventor, so you can see it kind of moves there and then gets back to the other parts. So you can move these around if you don't like the order, to try, shuffling things a little bit. Move this back and then go all the way to the beginning and hit play again. So, that gives you some options there, and then obviously at any point you can create drawing views. Let's see, is that this? Oh, sorry, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a snapshot here of each of these. So if I go back to, so this part, create a snapshot here. Now those can be shown in your drawings, and like if you're, what I was getting at earlier is it's trying to take the place of publisher. And I think publisher now is kind of getting phased out, but they're kind of building some of those options into Inventor, directly into Inventor, to be able to kind of build your, your installation or your install manuals and operator manuals. Okay, let's close out of this. And back to, I think that kind of covered all the stuff I wanted to touch on today. If you want to hang out for a little bit, I do have kind of a cool, if you've never looked at Configurator 360, I think it's really a great way to let your customers get a little more integrated with your product, be able to select some options and create their own thing. It's a really cool interface. It's easy to use. Obviously, the upfront, and there's not as much upfront work as I think a lot of customers originally thought. So you build your iLogic rules into your Inventor model, publish that to Configurator 360. Those rules are going to populate out there. You definitely don't want to put everything out there, but maybe some of your standard products, and it can be real slick to let customers actually generate the part that they want, and then they can actually request a quote right from there, and they'll put a picture of it on your quote. So really automates that sales process, and allows your sales people to put some really neat tools in front of a customer. So I'll just go ahead and check questions quick, and then if you want to hang out, I'll certainly show the Configurator 360. At this point, I'm not seeing any questions, so if you would like to stick around, I'll show that quickly here. I'm just going to bounce out. So I've already done a couple options here, so I'm just going to go to my Configurator 360 website. So this is something, within your team, you need an Autodesk account to be able to get into this and be able to pick your options. The way to publish it out to a website or your company's website, there's a little, and actually it's pretty easy to do that too. That's what it's kind of built to do, obviously. But let me just kind of show what it would look like for your customer to be able to choose one of their products. So here's my product catalog. I've just got a couple out here, obviously. This is one I think I stole from Autodesk, this brewing main. But we click on the product that we want to look at, or choose my options, and based on those iLogic rules, obviously you can control assemblies, control parts. So here's, it's kind of opening up the interface here now. We've got 3 different tanks, we've got a bench there, and then up on the upper left are really my options. So there's not a ton going on for this one, but let's say I want to have tier 2, we pick that, and right now it's automatically updating that. So you just pick the option and it builds it right in front of your customer. Okay, so your salespeople could do this right in front of your customer as well. let's say, okay, they want 20-gallon tanks. We pick that. So notice the size of my tanks is going to update here in a second. Okay, so now we've got some larger tanks. Let's say we want casters on there. There's just a checkbox that turns casters on and off. That was the, casters on the bottom of this. And so you can change colors, stuff like that. Let's say we want to go to a 3-tier tank or 3-tier system, and it just pops it up. So just based on your logic rules, it applies those. So you can really restrict, what your customers can do here, or you could actually leave, if you wanted to, instead of just having a pull down, you could actually have a value for the gallon. Maybe they want to go 15 gallon or 13 or 13.5. You could allow that and still kind of keep some limits within your logic. So just to kind of show a little more of that here, let's go back to our products. And this one's pretty simple, obviously, this block part. But this was honestly, I created this in about, it was probably 20 minutes and put my logic rules in there and then uploaded that. So if you've seen, there is a tutorial out there that does this exact one. So I was going, well, I want to try that out and put it in there. Now we can change, say, the length of this part. Let's go 20 and stretches that out. Notice the hole's still there. We go, maybe we want a 10 wide. And the depth here, let's change to 2. So you can see you're just building this on the whole side. Let's go up to 2. Let's make that hole a little bigger. And then let's say we want to change the color over here to yellow. And then I don't like the hole there anyway in the center, so I just have an on-off setting for that. We just uncheck it, and then it just takes the hole out. Now we're down to just this tray or whatever you want to call it. But so really easy to use. Your customer can build it. I don't have time right now to show obviously the generating the request for a quote, but you can kind of imagine how that would just throw the picture on there, put in some of your criteria here as far as the length, width, height, whatever it is, and then allows them to kind of be in control of their own design. So, all right, well, that's all I've got for today. So thanks for attending, and if you have any further questions, feel free to email me, or if you want to check out our website, we've got a lot of training coming up over the next several months, so please check out that. There's a training section on our website. You can see the calendar. If you've got any other needs, just let me know. But with that, I'll let you go, and thanks for attending the webcast.